Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg, they're kind of one of a kind, aren't they?
They are. They work together
know
a lot.
exactly how
They know exactly, and Tom Hanks is a great guy to work with. He wanted to use the flamethrower. If anyone's seen the film, he wanted to use the flamethrower and burning the Germans out of the pillbox at the time. And I just said, no, you can't do that. There's got to be another guy, you know. He said, I want to do it. And I said, no, you can't. Because the actors will always want to do these things. But nowadays, because you get some actors who's producing, directing, and that, they can do things. But a lot of actors are not allowed to do things nowadays because of the health and safety and that. So we have to have stunt people in doing.
Okay, just to stick with actors then, Charlotte Rampling and Peter Ustinov were in a movie, and so was Fred Astaire, The Purple Taxi.
Purple Taxi, yeah.
So you had to talk to Fred about Ginger. So how's Ginger getting on? You know, I love those movies with Ginger. What was his reaction to that?
Yeah, we were shooting down. It's just cut off like that. We were shooting down in a place called Renville, down the west of Ireland, over in Connemara. And I was out having a big meal with a colleague of mine, and we had the biggest lobsters you ever seen. Were that size. I've never seen anything like it. So we were stuffed, and there was a big fire, and there was 2 chairs at the backs of the chairs. So I walked in, and I seen an arm moving, and I said, Fred, how are you? Fred is there. So he was a very grumpy guy at the time, and he said, very cold outside. And so I got talking to him, and after about a minute I said, what was it like working with Ginger Rogers? And he just put his hand, he said, I don't want to talk about her. He said, and don't ever mention her name to me again. So I said, sorry about that, Fred. You know.
Sorry about that, Fred. Pass the salt. Really, you can't read anything into it, no? Did he not like her?
No. Well, he obviously didn't like it.
Toes.
Maybe he stood on his toes.
No, maybe she was sick or dying.
Well,
I'll give you another perfect example. Hold on, there's another one of that kind of thing. I remember Robert Shaw, the great Robert Shaw from Russia with Love and Jaws and all the rest of it, and The Sting. He died in County Mayo, didn't he?
He did. He
And
died.
you were filming in Ireland.
Yeah.
With
we were just doing a film the big red one with Lee Marvin.
Lee Marvin. Okay, the toughest guy ever hit.
Toughest guy, and
sitting at the bar having a drink.
We're sitting at the bar. There's 4 or 5 of us sitting at the bar. There was the director. I think his name is a small little guy. Anyway, American, and
not here tonight.
And there was Lee Marvin, at times my effects supervisor, and there was another colleague of mine, which we worked together a lot over the years. And anyway, it came up on the news.
You were sitting there drinking for the night?
I was sitting there drinking.
And the RT news comes on.
And the news came up, and Robert Shaw died today over in Mayo and everything. And Lee Marvin broke down immediately, and he turned around and he says, put his glass down, and he said, I gotta go. And everyone was, the 4 of us were thinking like, who's he, where's he going? So anyway, they changed the schedule because he was gone next day, and he went to the funeral. But I never seen a man crying, absolutely, especially Lee Marvin, which is like the toughie of those films and that, you know. So he broke down, and he was missing for about 2 or 3 days, and then he came back in the scene. He wasn't right even in a few days when he came back, you know. He was still talking about his best mate, you know, at the time, you know. So that was, these actors, hard actors, sort of like, you know, they all have a heart and we all sort of break down.
Yeah, other people went missing at times. Kubrick went missing once as well. He went off, because like there was a threat on his life or something. Now you were dealing with an awful lot of stuff during the Troubles in Ireland, and that stuff that you were dealing with is stuff that people could have found very handy. Explosives and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
So was that a difficult thing often, like, you know, getting into trouble? Not just the big things you mentioned there with Angel.
Yeah. Well, there was one time I was going back in the 60s, late 60s and that. Is that what you want to know?
Yeah.
But, yeah. But back in the 60s, I was doing business with a company called ICI, used to supply a certain amount of explosive materials at the time. And I rang them up and I said, look, I need a certain amount of materials. And this Colonel O'Kelly said to me, like, we can get stuff out of the army and what we call HE, high explosive. But I needed a lot of other stuff, powders and primer cords and things like that. So I ended up in a place somewhere in Mead, in a field, and a little house, a little sort of, it was like a little wooden outhouse, basically, but you put your sort of lawnmower in and things like that, a bit bigger. And when I got there, I was to meet a guy, and he never turned up. The door was open, and I went in rooting around this place, and I could have walked away with anything. And that was the time of the Troubles. A guy arrived anyway about 10 minutes later, and he said, "Are you Gerry Johnston?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "My name is whatever his name was nowadays." So I got a certain amount of materials out of him, and then I got the rest out of the army and that. But that's, after that, then it was very difficult then, because everything tightened up because of the Troubles in the north. But getting back to Stanley Kubrick, we were doing that film, and he was after doing a picture called Clockwork Orange, and I think that's why his life was threatened. He came to Ireland. Stanley Kubrick would never travel with his family. His family always travelled separate. His kids travelled separate. His wife travelled separate. He was just paranoid about sort of being bumped off. And on that particular shoot, when we were shooting Barry Lyndon, he disappeared overnight. The producers were asking, "Have you seen him?" I said, "No, I hadn't seen him at all." So he got a threat. He was threatened, apparently, and he left overnight, and then they finished up, packed up, and went back to England.
Do you know, it's a funny thing, like when you look through the book and all these kind of stories, good, bad, and different, it sounds like you've had a very exciting life and there's still plenty more to go. But is there an element of, like, a lot of times you didn't get paid. A lot of times you had to chase people and really threaten people to get paid. And even that's like, 20 and 30 years after working with some of the biggest. Do you ever feel like, clocking in at 9 to 5 mightn't have been a bad idea?
Yeah, it takes a toll, especially family life,
Yeah.
because once you go on a movie, your life is just locked into that.
And when I say, by the way, you never went abroad, you went abroad to make loads of movies.
I did.
Bizarre stories in Harare and Africa and every other damn place, and really weird stories. I'd have been attacked by locals, I'd been attacked by elephants.
Yeah, well, I was doing a film in Africa, in Zimbabwe at the time, and I was working for a company called Canon. I won't say the word, but anyway, that's finished up now. And after about 6 weeks, I hadn't been paid, so I went on strike. I just told them I wasn't going. But a lot of the other heads of departments as well wasn't paid and that. So we kind of said we weren't going to work and that. And then we had to threaten them in Los Angeles. And Los Angeles they were moving money around the globe. By the time it got to us, they made a fortune in our wages at the time. So that was the first time, and then the second time, I'll come back to the near misses as well. Then the second time I was working in Israel, and I was working for the same company, and the same thing happened again.
Right.
And I refused, and I stayed back after about 5 weeks in my hotel, chilling out at the swimming pool in a beautiful hotel, reading a book, and I said, "I'm not going in until I'm paid." So the producer, I worked with him before, Gene Corman, who was a brother of Roger Corman at the time, he said, "I'll give you a personal check if you go back." I said, "No, that's not the point about it. The principle is these people are doing the same all around the world." So eventually, after a while, he guaranteed and said to me, "Come on, back in the set, and I promise you, I'll pay you your money this week out of my own personal account." So we got paid eventually, and carried it on the movie.
What about a little-known movie called Flaming Borders?
Flaming Borders.
Did Saddam Hussein star in that for you?
Well, yeah. A colleague of mine, he rang me up and he says, "We've got a picture in Iraq." I said to him, "We can't go there." I said, "There's a war." "No," he said, "Don't worry about that." He says, "There's nothing happening." So anyway, I went to London, and we sorted out our work permits and our passport and everything like that. And we arrived in late at night time. And when we arrived in Baghdad, we were whisked away. We didn't realise we were whisked away by the army at the time, and everyone else was looking for cases, and there was hassle going on, and that. So we went and we went back to our hotel, and a few days later we were established in the television centre underground, and we didn't realise this until the third day. They were surrounded by tanks, and we seen a lot of guns on the roofs and everything. Yeah. And we were wondering, what's this all about and that. So it wasn't a good place to be. And of course, after, when they went in the bomb Iraq, later on in years, that was the first thing they knocked out. But we didn't know at the time, I didn't know who the president was. And my contact was a guy called, who invited us there, was a guy called Tariq Aziz. who became later a spokesperson for the United
Yeah.
Nations. But we were taken around one day to this palace to meet somebody, and we were taken around anyway, and all I remember was going in and seeing all gold in the ceiling and mosaic and all of that, a beautiful place, but it's always military around. And we were taken into this big hall through a huge door about 15, 20 feet high, and we were all told to line up, we were going to meet someone famous. And that. So anyway, this guy came in and we were told it was the president. So I met the president, you know, Saddam, and it was like a handshake, and all he just looked like steel eyes. He'd just go along like that. And we didn't realise after that until weeks later we were making a proper propaganda movie for him at the time. So when I heard that, we were there for now maybe about a couple of months. I wasn't too happy about that. And I decided to tell the production about it. I'm not coming back after Christmas. So it was then like, you know, you're staying, you're our guest, you've got to stay and everything. So we felt a bit intimidated, and we were told then if we hadn't cleared all our bills and we owed 1 cent in Iraq, we'd never get out of it. So I made sure of all the crew, you know, was paid up any outstanding bills, make sure, because if you owed money, we were going to suffer. We were going to be held there. Yeah. But we got out there, and we never went back. Some of the guys went back, but you know, like at the time, and I've never seen the film. It's called The Flaming Borders. Yeah. It was we were using a lot of military stuff.
I've never seen it either. By the way, we're going to do a question and answer thing in a few minutes' time. I just want to ask about another 5 or 10 more minutes, and you can ask if you like. Just as a matter of interest, you mentioned that you met the president, right, of Iraq and didn't know whatever. I once got out of a lift in the Georgetown in London and introduced Pierce Brosnan, James Bond, to the most powerful woman in America, Oprah Winfrey, which I felt really good at. But you met the President of Ireland in the west of Ireland once, Patrick Hillary, who then introduced you to Grace Kelly. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, in actual fact, it was
that.
It was a picture called A Great Train Robbery. In actual fact, it was in the Phoenix.
Great Train Robbery. Can I just say I was an extra in that movie? I went into Trinity College at the age of whatever. And the most bizarre thing was that you're wearing your St. Bernard pullover and you're brought down to some place in Anamo or somewhere down in Glencree or somewhere.
Yeah.
And the woman being hanged, and the whole scene is a woman being hanged and thrown off a balcony or something. And somebody else is escaping from jail at the same time, because the whole thing is a ruse. We have to go, hang her. And we're all there in our St. Bernard t-shirts and wearing watches. It's the 18th century. I don't know how you got out of that. Sean Connery standing there beside us. It was so cool. Yeah. Anyway, that was the nearest I ever did.
Yeah. The time I met the president was... We were shooting it up in the Phoenix Park. He was Paddy Hillary was the president at the time, and he was in the Urison up there in the park. And I was it just happens, these things. I was sitting in the tent, and this guy just came in and he sat down beside me and he said, "What's the movie you're making?" I said, "Let's call it The First Great Train Robbery with Sean Connery." I said, "I heard about Sean. I'm looking forward to meeting him and that." And I said, "Oh yeah," he said, "he's around and that, you know." And he said to me, "What do you do?" And I said, "I do special effects." "What are you doing on this?" I said, "Do rain, smoke, mist, fireworks, pyrotechnics and things like that." He said, "Oh yeah," he said, and he was with a polystyrene cup. And he said, "Really," he said, "it's very interesting." He said, "And do you do much of this?" I said, "Yeah, I've done it for years." And he said, "My name is Paddy Hillary." And I said, "Oh, right, okay." Yeah. So then it dawned on me, oh, it's the president, you know. So he said, "The president," he said, like, I said, "Oh, right, great." And he said, so anyway, I said, "I have to go back." So he said, "I'll go back with you." So I was walking out of the tent, and who was walking in was Grace Kelly with Michael Crichton, who was the director who died last week. Yeah. And I met the prince as well, and that, and just shook hands and nice to meet you, and that was it. You know?
Oh, look, there's so many other movies and so many things we haven't mentioned yet. I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis, just like, what does he do to you? What did he do to you in terms of just looking at this guy who was never once for 1 second out of character, either as Christie in the first movie or as whatever his thing was, Gerry Conlon in the second movie? Is he always like just on?
Always. Daniel always goes away. Especially in playing the part of Christie Brown at the time in the wheelchair. He went away and he went into a home with these people to get the feeling of what it was like. And then I had a problem, because when I met him first, It was about 2 weeks before the shoot, and he was in character. And I said to him, Daniel, I need to talk to you about, he's in a wheelchair and he's slurched like this, if anyone's seen the movie. And I said, Daniel, I need to talk to you because I'm going to have to put you in a wheelchair and send you down around Dublin on cables and in your wheelchair and that. And so I need to talk to you how it's going to be. So he kept going, yeah. And I said, no, Daniel, I need to talk to you. And he kept going, and I said, right, I'll talk to you when we finish shooting. Right. So that particular evening then, I'd say to him, Daniel, I need to talk to you. So now we're talking to him.
24 hours a day,
24 hours a
week.
day. He's the character. He's fantastic. That's why he's won a few awards. He's just a fantastic character. Great guy to work with. And he's a very private guy altogether. But his own mother, Dave, his own mother on that, as a colleague of mine used to drive him around. And when he was playing Christie, his own mother couldn't understand because he was in character. Yeah. So she used to ring Louis, the driver, and ask, how is Daniel? And I can't understand him. Is he all right? And he said, yeah, he's okay, he's playing the character and everything. Well, I don't know. Is he fine? Is he a typical mother? Or, And Louis was saying, don't worry, he's okay. And Louis, you just let me know if anything goes wrong. And so Louis used to have to ring her and tell her how Daniel was. So when it came along in the name of the Father, the same thing happened again. He'd get into the character of this strong Belfast accent, and she didn't know. So she used to ring Louis again and say, I don't understand. So he was the interpreter all the time for the mother,
Okay, there's one thing in the book that's very important, and it's you worked on Neil Jordan's movie, Michael Collins. When you realised that Neil Jordan was making the movie, first of all, you don't say it in the book, but I'm going to say it to you right now. Did you say, bastard, he's stolen my movie?
Yeah.
That was your movie, was it?
Well, at the time, there was a clear out years ago in the studios, and they were throwing scripts out, burning them. And I seen Michael Collins, and I took it.
What do you mean?
They were burning the script.
What
The people used to send in
Jordan,
scripts.
Michael Collins, or somebody?
No, somebody sent in the script. And it was written by a lady called Rosemary Ann Sissons, who did Upstairs, Downstairs, if anyone maybe would remember it, but it was a TV series, very successful, black and white TV series called Upstairs, Downstairs.
So she had sent in some kind of treatment for a movie,
she sent in,
hoping somebody might pick it up.
Hoping someone would pick it up. And I found it. So anyway, I looked at it and it was very outdated and that. So I contacted her, got her tracked down, and I contacted her and I said, look, can I have a talk with you? So in the meantime, as I went to see her in London, and I said, look, I'm interested in taking the rights in the story. So she said, well, I think it was British Screen at the time, or British Finance at the time had the rights. So it was a guy who took the rights on this, and he paid British Screen a certain amount. Well, we tracked him down anyway, and he became a monk in Tibet. So we had to track this guy down, and I had to make the offer to take the option on the script. So I said to the British Screen, you're going to have to chase this guy. I don't know where to contact him. So we got that, went back to Rosemary Ann, and then I used to visit her, and we sort of brought it updated, and then I decided that this is not going to work. So a colleague of mine, we decided to write a script, and I went to Toronto, and I rang up Liam Neeson and asked him would he play the part of Michael Collins. Explained to him about it was. And it was more or less the same script as Neil Jordan had. And there was loads of script going around then as well. But when I went to work on Neil Jordan's film...
But hold on a second, when you went to Liam Neeson, had Liam Neeson heard from Neil Jordan?
No.
So Liam Neeson was asked by you to play Michael Collins in a movie called probably Michael Collins. No, you had a different title to it.
Yeah, a different title for it. And he said, this sounds interesting. Yeah, I'd be interested in that. Because I was after doing a film, I think, before that, film called Lamb.
Yeah.
I think it's called Lamb. I think he plays Christian brother.
Yeah, that's right.
As a child.
Boy,
yeah. And I explained who I was and everything. Yeah, coach. Yeah, we'll have a chat about it and everything when we get back to Ireland. But in the meantime, there was a couple of scripts going around. There was Kevin Costner was playing Michael
That's
Collins.
right, yeah.
Michael Cimino.
Yeah.
Michael Cimino.
And is it basically that Gerry Johnston doesn't mean anything compared to Neil Jordan or Kevin Costner? Is that it?
But that was it. Yeah.
You're a nobody in that field.
I was a nobody at the time, you know. But I think, you know, as now as that's like, you know, as I want to sort of try and make my own movies now, and I've had a lot of experience over the years, and I've done a second unit directing on film, so
Yeah.
I'm going to go. I love the special effects still. I love it, and
Yeah.
I'll always do it. You know, till
All
the
right,
day
so
I
that's
die.
what's
Maybe.
coming around the corner. A lot of the movies that you might have made at first, you didn't get your name in the credits at the end. Is it vital?
It
to
is.
be in
It's
the
vital
credits?
because all the people, you know, the first thing is, especially on a film, it's either at home it's time to put on the kettle when the credits start rolling, or if it's in the cinema.
But if somebody abroad wants to sort of do something, they might get the movie out in video in Hollywood or something like that and take a look at it and say, okay, that's the guy who did that, is it?
Exactly.
You need your name there.
Well, yeah, well, it's
a lot of movies you didn't get
very
your name
important because, first of all, it's important that our credits come up. And people say, oh, right, okay, it could be Hollywood, it could be anywhere in the
Yeah.
world. Hollywood is a place, as everyone thinks, in America, but, you know, there's 2 Hollywoods in Ireland as well. But
That's
anyway,
right, down and wake up.
they haven't got the
Indeed.
money, same money. But I mean, it's something that you know, Hollywood is known to everyone as Los Angeles, you know.
Yeah. Tom Cruise, what was he like?
Tom Cruise, I never worked with Tom Cruise.
Thought you did Far and Away.
No, I didn't do Far and Away. I was doing a film called The Playboys.
Oh, you were
with
up in
Sean-
Mayo while they were down in Dingle.
Yeah, I was up in
Did you not do? Did you not do some of the snow? for
No,
Far and
I
Away
was
in
to go,
Dublin?
yes, I was to go and work on the
Because
film.
you had done it for Educating Rita and said, "Here's the snowman, get him."
Yeah, the Far and Away.
Here in Trinity.
Far and Away. First of all, I was to go and work in it. A guy, supervised director of special effects, guy called John Richardson, asked me would I do the movie with him because he said, I don't know what it's like in Europe now and what to do. So anyway, we never worked together. I went off and I did another movie and that. But when I was working on a movie here, which back in 1973, it was called Educating Rita, with Michael Caine and Julie Waters. That was the first time Julie Waters was coming off the stage and playing in our first film. And we were creating here at the time. I was to create a big snow scene, and it was during the August, and it was one of the hottest summers ever. And I think the dean got a bit annoyed about it because we had all these wedding parties coming in to
Getting the photograph taken
get
in the
photographed
snow
in the snow, and it was really like 100 degrees.
And was there any newspaper the next morning that didn't
The
have
newspaper
a picture on the
headings
front
next morning, snow
Snow and
overnight in Trinity College and all these wedding parties.
page?
were
In the
get
August
pho-
of 2008, it would have been appropriate.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, well, look, I'll tell you, just, look, there's a million other things. Okay, so I'm going to ask one last one, then it's up to you guys. I'm going to hand around microphones. Wait till you get a microphone, if possible. And that's this, just Braveheart. I mean, is Braveheart one of the biggest things you've ever done in terms of just everything was in it, except like the kind of pyrotechnics we saw there. Everything else was in it. Massive.
It was massive. I mean,
Because I was on the set a few days, and I've often given out about Mel Gibson in an interview, but he was brilliant on the set. He was so funny and just a big laugh. I think, geez, this guy spent 200 million and he's just having a laugh.
well, he was under a lot of pressure. First of all, he was involved in the acting, directing,
Yeah.
and producing. And it was, I have to say, it was very funny because all the Irish armies used to get behind these bank of monitors. And Mel would say sort of like, oh, that was, that's, we could do. And then of course the Irish guys used to say, we can do better than that, Mel, come on, let's get back and do another one, you know. But in that particular, we had fire, huge amount of fire in it. We were using massive bulk tanks of fire, liquid gas. We had arrows launchers, we had chopped off arms, heads, spears going through, mechanical horses, burning oil.
See, the point about all this, you're just expected to come up with this. They just say, this is the special effects guy, come up with this.
Yeah. Well, you have to, again, you read the script.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I mean, we just saw the place there, the cow shed, as you call it.
Yeah.
Which has been renovated now, or at least it's better than it was, is it? Or the weeds are gone from the front, are they?
Yeah. I mean, when I went there, when I opened it up in 19, I was in the studio and they kept moving me around. And I needed a big area, like something, and they gave me this particular place one day. And I opened up the door, and as I opened the door, it was like, and it was all these massive cobwebs.
Yeah.
This door hadn't been open for about 20, 30 years. And there was all this farm machinery in the yard, farmyard. And all the place was basically pens for cattle. It was Lord Mead, and there was Jersey cows. He was the only one. But the whole place was falling down. All there was a light bulb and a tap. And I got rid of all the machinery, farm machinery, got rid of all the straw and the hay.
And that's what we've been seeing on the screen there.
And that's what you're seeing on the screen now, whereas at the time it was just 70 feet was falling down. Right. And there was trees going up through the roof.
See the way I brought it right back to the beginning? That was pretty good, wasn't it? It's completely by accident.
So I call it I've Americans often ask me, where's your base? And I say the cow shed.
Right. The cow shed is what it's called, yeah. There's a picture of the book from 2007 from just there.